Welcome to Honest Money, your best guide to financial freedom. I'm Warren Ingram, the author of a few best-selling books, and I'm also an award-winning financial planner, and I've helped thousands of people on their journey to financial freedom. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I am here to share my experience and the best ideas that I've learned, and I hope these ideas help you on your journey to financial freedom.
Dear Warren, I have an overdraft to the tune of 20,000 Rand that I would like to utilize to buy shares or invest in something that will give me maximum returns in 2 months at most. Please advise as to how I could go about getting this done with your assistance, of course. Thanks, Lebogang.
Hi, Lebogang. I'm so glad that you're making contact before you decide to use your overdraft for investing, because I think there's some real danger signs here. So as a start, I'm going to say danger, danger, danger. Please be careful with this. I think my concern with your potentially your plan is two things. One, the interest rates on an overdraft are generally very high, and so if you're paying an interest rate of 9% or more, it's very hard to find an investment that's high quality, that's able to give you a fair chance of getting a return that's more than 9% a year without taking too much risk. And so if I'm going to borrow money to invest, I want to make sure that my interest rate is going to be somewhere around 5 or 6% a year and no more than that. If my interest rate is around 7 or 8 or 9, then I need to think very carefully before I borrow money. And definitely if it's more than 9% a year, I don't want to borrow money to make an investment decision. And I know that there are all sorts of people out there, these American personal finance gurus that will tell you to borrow money and it's not a problem at all. I think that's a huge path to wealth destruction. So for me, my starting comment is usually debt is a weapon of wealth destruction, not wealth creation. As a second point, your time frame for your investment is incredibly short. So if you want to borrow money from your overdraft for 2 months to make an investment, there is nothing that you can buy that has a reasonably good chance of giving you capital growth over a 2-month period. I know people will tell me that cryptocurrencies can do it, and you could be lucky and buy one share that goes up by a huge amount in a very short space of time. But all of those kinds of strategies rely on an enormous amount of luck. In other words, you might as well take the money from your overdraft and go to the casino or play the lotto, because your chances of making a lot of money are about the same. So unfortunately, the best thing I think you can do with your overdraft is make sure that it's paid off and then start to save some money on a monthly basis into a long-term investment. And that's a very good way of being sure that you can build up wealth over the long term. But 2 months is far too short for any kind of a rational, sensible investment that will help you actually build money. And definitely, overdrafts, the interest rates are just far too high to worry about that. So I'm sorry, I don't have any other clever tips for you around this. I think it's not a great strategy for you, unfortunately.
Good morning, Warren. My question is based on buying a car. I just want to find out, what advice do you have for someone who is looking to buy a car, in terms of, is it okay to buy secondhand, and is it wise to buy it secondhand? What are some of the financial advices that you would give to someone who is looking to buy a car?
I really love your question about cars, and how to buy a car and what's the best kind of car to buy, and especially around the financial arrangements around that, because I think a lot of the time we get emotionally sucked into buying cars, especially expensive cars that we don't really need, because car companies are such fantastic marketing businesses that they'll always find a way to convince us that the car that they're selling is the car we need. And I think just to understand, in South Africa, a lot of us need a car just to get to work. There isn't another way of actually getting reliable transport. And so, a car can be a tool to generate an income stream. It's the way that you actually are able to earn a monthly salary. So yes, I think buying a car is not a bad idea. However, I think none of us need to buy a new car. Anyone who says that a new car is absolutely necessary and that you should never buy second-hand cars is either fooling you or fooling themselves. I specialize for myself in buying cars that are at least 1 year old and preferably 2 or 3 years old. And my reason is that, let's say you pay 500,000 rand for a car. By the time it drives off the showroom floor, and if it's a new car and you take it home and you keep it in your garage for a week, the likelihood is it's already lost 50 or 60,000 rands worth of value, and by the end of the year it might already have lost even more than that. And the only reason it's lost value is because it was new and now it will be called secondhand. And so I just think that kind of a capital loss on a car really doesn't make sense to me. So for me, I always want to buy high quality secondhand cars that are in good condition, and then make sure that I'm able to afford the monthly repayments. And so that's my second piece of advice to you. Is if you're going to buy a secondhand car, buy a small car, buy one that's, yes, it needs to be safe. In other words, it needs to have good airbags, needs to have good brakes, it needs to be a reliable car so that it can get you where you need to go. But it doesn't need to be a big fancy German car. There are some really good quality, very small cars, especially the Korean and Japanese cars are high quality, well-made vehicles. And they're not that expensive. I mean, I think all cars are expensive, but certainly these are not that expensive. And what I would say to you is try and pay the very biggest deposit you can. So, try and save up as much as you can. If the car costs, let's say, 100,000 rand, try and put down a third of that as a deposit. In other words, 33,000 rand. And then the second thing is try not to finance the car over a very long period of time. A lot of the time now, these financial businesses will offer to sell you the car and finance it over 72 months. And the point about 72 months is a lot of people don't even keep their car that long. So they're paying off a high interest rate on a thing that's losing value month after month for 6 or 7 years. It's crazy to me. So what I would say to you is pay the biggest deposit you can. And then if you do get finance, make sure that the finance is for a maximum of 5 years. And then what you do is try and pay it off over 3 years. So if you can, try and pay off the cars over 3 years. The very best advice I can give you is buy a second-hand safe car and pay for it cash. But unfortunately, not all of us can buy cars with cash until we're all much older. So as a start, don't pay a lot for a car. Don't buy a big expensive car. It's not there to impress your friends. It's there to get you from your home to your work so that you can earn money, so that you can build up your savings. And then try not to finance it for a very long period of time, and make sure you pay a big deposit, because that'll help you get a very low and responsible interest rate. All the best with your car buying. Thank you for listening to Honest Money. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me on Twitter. My handle is @WarrenIngram. Don't forget to subscribe. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Chat soon.